Table or truth?
Donald, flattery. Donald, I love flattery Trump. How about that? Is that fair?
Well,
I mean,
Trump has been known
very,
as being transactional.
Yeah, it's very. In fact, he's very predictable from that point of view. And I'm guessing you just gave a. If Donald Trump's listening to this show, for whatever reason, well, I suppose if you had the foresight, you'd realize how your enemies can easily sway you. All they have to do is flatter you with hot air. But okay.
All right. Well, after years, because the hot thing right now, and it's going through Congress, is TikTok, banning TikTok.
Yeah, right? Not the wisest course of action, I think, to ban it outright completely.
Well, you know that Trump talked about banning TikTok when he was president.
He talked about it, but it never got implemented.
It didn't quite happen. He attempted an executive order, but it was overturned by the courts. But guess what happened recently?
Trump wants to ban TikTok again?
No. He thinks we should not ban TikTok because that'll hurt so many people. After he got a visit from a hedge fund manager who has massive stock in TikTok.
So you're saying he's got bought out by a hedge fund manager from behind the scenes?
I'm not saying he was bought.
In your opinion,
there was a discussion by a billionaire
with your speculation
to another billionaire.
You're not giving facts. You're just speculating.
No. That actually happened.
Okay.
The hedge fund manager visited Trump, and within days, Trump had a turnaround on TikTok. We just saw what happened with Anheuser-Busch. The same day that Anheuser-Busch announces early February that they're going to have a fundraiser for Trump, he comes out that same day and says, let's give Anheuser-Busch a second chance.
Well, that guy,
they're not a woke company.
That guy should never rob a bank, should he? I mean, I don't know what to say. That's again, in all fairness, okay, this is the difference. You'll notice that I'm actually conceding when there's gaffes.
Okay,
It'd be nice if other people would do that, no matter what their beliefs are, even if they don't agree with me. Sometimes, at least see the concessions and the reason for logic. I'm not saying you.
No, I got one more cherry.
Go ahead, throw another cherry
on the TikTok. Steve Bannon suggested that Trump was paid off after a shift in his stance on TikTok.
Okay, so Steve Bannon's turned heel against Trump now.
No. It was just he's just stating something that he just suggested that there was something up with Trump's change in TikTok.
Well, it seems kind of fickle. I mean,
but no, it's if you believe in something, right? It's hard when some type of financial transaction, money people get involved, have a word with you, and then you go the other way.
Yeah, it sounds like you're selling out, basically.
Right. You're the same guy that in 2016 said, you're so rich. I'm a billionaire. I don't need your money at all. I'm rich. I'm not going to be beholden to anybody, like they do in D.C. with lobbyists. Why? Because I'm rich. I don't need the money, man. I tell them what to do, right?
By the way,
then what happens?
Sell out.
No, he started asking small donors for their money.
Ponzi scheme.
Well, that's not quite a Ponzi scheme. It's because constantly, at least somebody gets. Well, I guess he's at the top and gets paid. Because, for instance, what it was it 50 or $60 million that his PAC gave for legal fees for Trump's legal issues in 2023, and it came from his PAC. The people who are giving him money to run for president are paying for his.
Okay. Maybe we should title this episode "Trump Ponzi Scheming Punts."
No, don't go there. Don't use Ponzi scheme, please.
No.
Now, if you want to say grifter.
Okay, grifting.
I can go
grifting goober who sells out for.
See why do you have to go to Goober?
Well, I mean, listen, like we add some little spice.
Okay.
You see some of the titles.
You are the producer.
All right, grifting
You
Gruber,
are
who just sells out at the first hedge fund.
However you roll,
or someone who just
roll.
who just wants to bring diplomacy amongst and unify society here in the United States, and therefore allow TikTok to not be banned in Anheuser-Busch.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
How do you feel about TikTok? I'll give you my opinion after. Oh, do you want to hear my opinion first?
Well, you asked me, so I might as well answer.
Good.
I don't really use it much. It seems functional. I believe the problem from the start was that there was a backdoor code inscribed in the TikTok algorithm that allows somebody to just basically hack in anything you're doing or saying. And therefore, your ideas, especially if you're impressionable, well, they can steal your IP ideas for TikTok, but anybody can sees you on TikTok and just take your stuff anyway. But worse than that, they might be able to hack into your something on your phone. Maybe I don't know to what degree that's really a threat. Spy on you via the TikTok app. I don't know to what degree that's a threat. Worst case scenario, they can heavily influence an entire section of subculture who's high in TikTok, like does it a lot, and create whatever information warfare they need to create division within the United States. Which the conspiracy theory person inside of me would say that's not. If I was gonna really F with the United States, that's how I do it. I would create an app that millions upon millions of Americans, especially the youth, would get addicted to. And I could slowly mold their minds to think of an ideology that may or may not work in favor for the United States. Probably not in favor. And if I was really evil, I would destroy their sense of morality and break up the nuclear families and communities and any sense of patriotism by use of TikTok. I might create all sorts of ideologies that represent my kind of philosophy. So Marxism, I suppose, if I was from the CCP. Or I could be a mega-capitalist industrialist who has the same kind of beliefs anyway that are considered Marxist. I was reading up on one thing that really seems to justify this whole conspiracy theory about power brokers. I always wanted to kind of push this Marxist agenda on the population. It's actually the easiest way to economically create efficiency. If you had a sort of like a hive-like society that it has a very Marxist view of everything, where state first, and the powers that be determine the economic strategy and what to do, and that's kind of what happens in CCP China. Now, granted, the people in China, the citizens, a lot of them appear to be miserable under that regime, but in terms of an efficient economic powerhouse, as long as you can control the corruption, which is why China's sort of eaten itself alive from the inside out, with the Evergrande disaster and all the other corruption going on, where there's so much unreliability in the local provinces and governments that it's really effed with the Chinese machine economically. Assuming you could take care of that, though, the theory works, like the Marxist theory that if you really want to create the most efficient way to make super productivity without too much slashback from detractors in government or laws and stuff like that might basically sway you from being able to efficiently meet your objectives, then yeah, that Marxist pseudo-capitalist ideology is the way to go. And that's the conspiracy theory is that's why the World Economic Forum and all the power brokers that happen to be affiliated with that level of industry, a lot of at least seem to have an attraction towards that kind of system, because let's face it, it's easier to control people, less opposition, and so by having that, you can definitely get a lot of value for your buck if all you're thinking about is profit margins and just greed. Yes, that is a way to go. The only problem with that is, as anybody could tell you, whether they live in mainland China and are not a CCP high party member, or even the middle class here in the United States, it pretty much takes the soul out of you living under that kind of a regime. because life isn't just about the stupid state being the most efficient thing in the world in the first place. What is the point of like this global rat race of being the best, the baddest, the most economically powerful? Who gives a shit at the end of the day? What does it matter? Is a very fair question to ask yourself. Like, what is the ultimate end goal? Like most people just end up withering and dying off when they're overworked and unhappy. So that system can't actually sustain itself. If you end up having the bragging rights that your country leads the best in, microprocessors or just technology, but that's your only obsession, that's like some roid monger who's like learned to tap into like the perfect chemistry to become 350 pounds and jacked, but is about to die at 41 or something. Like what's the point? You get some sort of glory and clout, but it's all built on a half-truth or a downright lie. Who cares? It's not natural, it's not holistic, and it's not good for the people that you're supposedly serving. So I'm kind of going off a little bit on a tangent here. You were just asking me what I think of TikTok. Well, I guess that's what I think of TikTok.
Well, you touted the effectiveness of Marxism and then turned around and blew it up.
I blew it up for the very obvious holistic reason that as a health and wellness guy, okay, ultimately, it's not a sustainable model for people to have good mental health and just physical health as well for the most part. When you look at the, the 12, I think it's called the 6-12 rule in China. Do you hear about that? 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, that's how you're supposed to live. That's insane. Nobody should have to live like that. That's so bad for your mental and physical health. Like, if people really want to do that, more power to you, but believe me, you have no soul. Like that's no way for you to exist, your life, your waking life here on this planet, just so you can meet the ends of, who are you even working for? Like, the whole freaking country system is supposed to, at least here in the United States, it's supposed to serve the people, not a bunch of fucking industrialists at the end of the rainbow. If people don't seem to understand and wise up to that and just constantly naively go, well, yeah, communism, Marxism makes perfect sense because obviously we can distribute things to the people, but they never seem to comprehend the people in charge of this thing usually don't give a shit about you. Okay? And until you can prove that you can trust those people with good stewardship of power, it's not going to work the way you think it's going to. This is where a lot of the MAGA backlash is coming from against leftist ideas, or at least like hardcore liberal leftist ideas that seem to push Marxism, okay? Not
no, they
Democrats.
Don't. No, they don't.
Okay, whatever. I've only talked to people like this, but all right.
No, you're calling it Marxism.
I'm not saying everybody who's
BS,
Democrat or
man.
Marxist. I'm just saying that on the far extreme end, there's some Marxist ideologies there that people are not comfortable wanting to live under. But when you think about it from an economics point of view, it does make sense. If you're an industrialist and you really want to make the most efficiency and you have the ability and influence to lobby people in Congress to kind of suit your needs, then you're going to want to push as much agendas that will somehow create this sort of a spirit in the landscape that just pushes this kind of like efficiency, for production first and foremost, and that's it. If that's true, okay, and this is just my speculation, this is why I wouldn't trust Bernie Sanders' 32-hour work week under these conditions. Like, the idea is nice. I don't think the execution is going to be what people think it's going to be. You still have to deal with the threat of AI taking over. You don't know if, you could have a class system where people are super dirt poor and then other people are super rich. That's always a concern. That seems to be a really big concern in such places that have this kind of authoritarian vibe. I see very few people who are liberals on the left that at least acknowledge this as a concern and try to do something to chastise their fellow paisanos on that side of the aisle to create a checks and balance. But maybe it's just me. That's an opinion there, okay? An opinion. Sir, please, you have the floor. I answered what do I think about TikTok. That's my answer.
Well, forgive me for not defining the question properly. What I wanted to know is how you feel about the government shutting down a company because it doesn't like what it does.
I don't think that's If that company fair and square got into the market and it's not trying to create any kind of spy, stuff, I don't think it's constitutionally fair for them to do that. I don't know to what degree a corporation can exist as a.
Yeah, but you say constitutionally. We're
Yeah.
talking about a foreign
If it,
company.
yeah, okay. So if
So
it's a foreign
not,
company,
it's not
yeah.
an American company.
If it's a foreign
company,
legit, at this point, good luck trying to explain to the youth of America TikTok was a bad idea. They should have probably produced something years ago from the start that could have rivaled TikTok in that same manner. I guess it's not impossible to do it, if they wanted to. And in some ways, it's probably, from a security point of view, I mean, there's some sense to monitoring that. But then, ironically, people have the freedom to, express themselves however they want on TikTok. Maybe it's more functional to any kind of threats on information wars or information technology via the TikTok app influencing the minds of the youth of America or even anybody else. Maybe what should be done is just have likewise very influential people that can have a reasonable open-minded discussions or just create trends that can rival whatever insanities they're afraid of in TikTok. I mean, it by itself, it's just a tool. So I don't think it's a problem per se from that point of view. I mean, I would agree with Trump. Maybe it's not that big a deal, but I would say there is a concern if there's a backdoor problem.
He attempted to ban it when.
Yeah, but you just said about 20 minutes ago. Then he changed his mind.
But why did he change his mind?
Well, whether he got bought off by a hedge fund guy or not.
Thank you. That's the question. It's about.
But that's still speculation. We don't know that he got that. It seems heavily insinuated, right? And the old punchline is like we could go back to the election fraud
Steve
stuff. I've already agreed with you.
Suggested that Trump was paid
okay,
off after
suggestion, but you like facts.
Tyson
facts. Tyson. Okay, he likes facts, not speculation. Those are your words.
No. I did give you facts. He met with a hedge fund manager. He changed his stance on TikTok. Okay. Those are facts.
Those are facts.
I'm not speculating.
But the facts are we don't know what's going on in his soul. Okay? According to Tyson logic. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying according to Tyson logic.
As you went around the world and back, let me give you my opinion. As far as I thought the government and military ban for those devices using TikTok was appropriate because the deal is that at any time, and we're talking about ByteDance. ByteDance is the principal owner of TikTok, and they are a Chinese company. And all companies in China, if the Chinese Communist Party decides they want something from the company, guess what?
They'll take it.
They'll take it.
Which is why there's a mass exodus of industrialists that left mainland China, which is why the economy is hurting so bad right now. Incidentally, as we speak, it probably wasn't the best move of China to be that authoritarian and greedy with their information, because look what's happening. But then again, I'm not an economics genius. I'm just observing, right? But please continue. Sorry.
And so, from there, the other item you need to look at with the future is data. It's all about data.
Yeah, okay.
And so TikTok is Americans and people around the world are putting their information in, and as a mining tool for data,
right?
It is a marvelous thing to have. And another thing to look at is, again, with AI and all the data that you have in that, you can put out bots and things and change the mind or guide the people there, because there are a number, particularly we'll just stick with America.
That's what I was telling you.
Right,
like
exactly.
10 minutes
what you
ago.
said,
exactly.
It was absolutely. But the question is, should the government ban this item for normal citizens?
Considering the circumstances, they probably should just keep an eye on it. I don't know why. I mean, it's no different than like you. People are always saying that they're afraid that comments about, like, for instance, the vaccine or whatever, people that question that or whatever are, those should be shadow banned. Or, you know what, if they really are built on bullshit, sooner or later that stuff will decay.
Oh, half the people are dead.
The other half are doing quite well and are living wondrously. So
Yeah,
you have to have a little wisdom whatever you decide to do. So,
okay.
But at the end of the day, critical thinking is your biggest tool in the modern world. If this is an individual thing, like if people don't want to think critically, then they're going to be swayed no matter what they do, and that's it. I mean, they're going to live less
There's
holistically.
a significant number of Americans who get their news off of TikTok.
Yeah, that's probably not a good thing.
Well, they do, but
then again, like when it gets to that level, if you can prove that the source of that isn't just some guy American in his basement making an opinion, but it's actually somebody directly connected to the CCP, then yeah, I would say yeah, you have every right to ban that because that's technically an outside national security threat.
Yeah, but again, my belief is government, military, banned from government products. Use TikTok being loaded on government products.
Yeah, that's
Period.
fair. Yeah,
okay.
that's fair.
But as far as the ordinary citizen,
too late. No more than the internet.
Teenagers around the corner. Because what
parents need to have this conversation.
The specifics for this is ByteDance. What they require is in 6 months, ByteDance divest from TikTok, and then TikTok can continue to be used in the United States.
That seems pretty reasonable. Does this said company from China understand why this is happening? Are they capable of seeing reason? I mean, it's a fair concern.
But you just said seeing reasonable. Is that reasonable?
Seems reasonable.
Why would you say that that's reasonable?
Well, okay.
Us being a capitalist society,
we're not naive. We're capitalists.
We are going to deny our citizens their free right to go on a social media.
No, they can go on it. They just don't want ByteDance, as you said, right?
Right.
To be the harbingers of like monitoring all this.
They own the majority owner, I guess, of TikTok. They own. You can just say ByteDance on TikTok.
Look, you know what's really hypocritical? If China is willing to monitor everything the way they wanted to, which is why companies technically that are foreign left China, right? Because China wanted to be like, we want to see what's going on. Dissect the technology. Then so likewise, just do it with ByteDance from the United States perspective. And if they don't like it, I guess they can just leave the U.S. market.
You talking about ByteDance with TikTok?
I mean, I don't know why they would, but it's just like if they have nothing to hide, and they're like, you know what? I see your point.
ByteDance says that they are not giving any information to CCP.
Okay, but
that's
how do you prove that?
Well, that's
if you're in the United States, you're just like, okay, fine. How do you prove that? How can you prove that to us? And if you can't, well then there's your ultimatum. You're gonna have to go extra because unfortunately your stupid CCP government. Did I say something wrong here or?
No.
Your CCP government. How about that? Am I gonna get shot?
No. I'm interested to hear the rest of that.
Okay. Has created a bad reputation that they steal all sorts of intellectual property and they spy on everybody. And seeing how they could easily influence the elections or anything else, then yeah, I'm sure from your point of view, you can see why we're concerned. And if they're like, I don't understand, I'm cognitively biased, you're like, okay, well, then you're obviously a hypocrite because this is exactly what your country does to foreign investors anyway. So just based on that principle, anybody that throws a tantrum and whines, it'll be like, too bad, tough. Build your own application.
Well, if it's denied in the United States and you have millions of citizens who go on TikTok daily,
find another alternative.
You're a tough guy.
I'm just being reasonable. I mean, like, listen, again, people always want to get in shape. As they go see a trainer, and some of them start to whine, you're heartless, you're a douchebag, you're a tough guy. It's just like, listen, it's mechanics, it's simple cause and effect. I'm not proposing anything that's not reasonable here. Like, once you start to see the hypocrisy of the argument, Okay, if somebody can gainsay that claim that I just made, by all means, go ahead and do it. If you don't, you walk away. As far as I can tell, you're hiding something. Okay, or you're not as mature as you think you are. You can say, well, that's a stupid opinion. Fine, that's a stupid opinion. You didn't come up with a better one on how to resolve this issue. All you said is you don't like what I have to say. Fair enough. The floor is yours. If you can't resolve this, that's on you. The conviction's on you. So I don't see I don't know why I have to defend TikTok or not, but I mean, I think if I was King Solomon and I was putting my wisdom as a monarch, I'd be like, that's a pretty reasonable ultimatum.
TikTok. What I wanted to explore is America in our capitalistic society that, again, like I said, no issue, military government, absolutely, I agree with it, should have been done.
Yeah.
And they did do that. They did that early and whatnot. But for citizens...
Well, originally, right, like, we weren't faced with these global issues back in the 1700s, okay, when the Constitution was made. Or was it 1801? Or was it like 17? Yeah. So, now the world does evolve and it changes, not always for the better. But because of the tech, because of information, it's not that we shouldn't adhere to the Constitution. We still should. But in reality, we should have been careful the whole time about like our foreign affairs. At the end of the day, if we really wanted to like be realistic, otherwise any entities out there that are trading, especially when it comes to like information war, these are things you'd think that the leaders of our country would have figured out 15 years ago and calculated. If they didn't, then I'm like, who the hell's running this place? But I guess that's sort of like a moot point because we already know, like it's like you got a bunch of knuckleheads a lot of times in power with every good leader that might be able to make an influence. Yes, the checks and balances is very important in our country, but it seems to work best when everybody is actually ensued a degree of wisdom in their consciousness. If they're not wise, then like
you're kidding, right?
No, I'm being very naive, but idealistic.
Well, idealistic.
I'm not kidding. I'm telling you what the solution is, but like I know it's idealistic and naive.
I will give you a prime example. Yeah.
Of what?
Huh?
Of what?
That being idealistic is fine, but you're dealing with Americans. They don't. Yeah.
So there's no solution.
It's tough, but again, the border bill is a great example, right?
There's no solution.
The Republicans get everything they want in the border bill, and then they blow it up.
We already had a great episode of that.
I know that, but
I believe two people don't want to talk to me because of that episode. I don't even really care. They couldn't come up with a better answer behind it, but okay.
You saying that all this cooperation, it can't be done. It's difficult.
As long as people are cognitive.
Except for TikTok. That's bipartisan.
That's addiction. You know what this is showing? Human addiction at the end of the day.
How is bipartisan
bipartisan? People probably like their TikTok, or their kids have TikTok, or family has TikTok. It's not the best wholesome tool. It's making us dumber as a society.
I'm sorry. Bipartisan, what I'm talking about is in Congress. Both Democrats and Republicans have... Actually, it's out of the House. I'm not sure where it is in the Senate.
Right.
In order to put this ByteDance out in 6 months, or this country will ban TikTok.
Okay.
It's a bipartisan thing. Very few things that we see.
That's interesting.
With our hyper separation now.
Well, they must see an existential threat here that most people can't see. I guess.
What do you say? Most people can't see.
Well, let's see, people that are addicted to TikTok.
No, it's users, right? You're saying users who want to use the thing.
Yeah,
that's what they use.
Most people can't see, yes.
Well, I wouldn't say that they can't see, because that is trying to say that they're not intelligent enough to see what's going on. Let's say that these people, they don't agree because they're users.
They don't care. Is that fair? They'd rather stick to the addiction. Is there something you want to tell us, Tyson, about TikTok use here?
No.
Are you addicted to TikTok? Is there a site that you like to go on TikTok?
I do not do TikTok.
Questionable?
It's not on any of my devices because I don't trust TikTok.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not disagreeing that it's a hard thing
But
to get off
as
of TikTok.
as I was giving you, I just wanted to explore it a little deeper and hit you with different angles to see
How did I do?
Well, there was no wrong answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
There was no wrong answer.
Yeah.
And again, what I saw that you brought up was, which was key, was how people can be influenced by a potential negative party using bots and other things.
Yeah.
Because why? They've got your data. Tweak a couple of things, then they're gonna know how you react if you get sent certain messages.
It's the devil's metaphor, if you will.
Devil's metaphor?
Yeah, the devil's metaphor. The you could call it the legendarium of our human race if devils are real. The concept that somewhere out there is entities that observe us and have far better angles of observing us because they live outside of space-time or whatever. But they can collect data on every single human and figure out how to exploit them so that they can self-destruct. You know, like the proverbial devil on your shoulder, right? So the thoughts that are planted in your head somehow, proverbially speaking, the devil's tempter, you know, where it's like all of a sudden you get where did I get that thought? And you're like, whoa. And it's like they just know how to push them buttons, you know. And all it is data mining. If you think about it, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of frightening if you really think about it.
Well,
Whether it's paranormal or it's literally artificial intelligence, it's freaky.
That's the key.
Okay.
Is the AI, which, as you're aware, being a scientist, can compute data at an outstanding
I know Skynet
problem. Exactly. Where before it was like, I got a couple of guys in the lab with a IBM machine that's as big as a house.
Let me freak you and every user out here because it just came to me. What if you could create an AI that could literally, in the middle of an attack, hit so many people with TikTok to hit them with the right message sent right then and there that will distract them enough from actually taking cover from, like, let's say, a nuclear attack or a solar flare. Solar flare would, any of these would ruin you anyway once the thing hit. But in the meantime, you're sitting there debating it, or you're just distracted with, like, twerking videos or God knows what else you're watching. And so you don't actually get a chance to really take the news with a grain of salt. Or maybe deep fake. That's the real threat. Where news becomes so saturated with deep fake, right, that you don't know what's real news. In other words, those who do not train their minds now, I would say, to learn how to critically think are going to be could be in dire straits in the future when deepfake is so strong you know nothing on what to believe. And if you think life feels nihilist now, just imagine when you can't trust anything. And if you have never taken the time to learn critical thinking skills and seek anything that could really ground you with real wisdom, then your ability to discern reality or even just news that is actually worthy is going to be rock bottom. And if that happens, well, guess what? If there really is an enemy out there, okay, AI or otherwise, you're cooked, especially if you're addicted to your technology. Therein lies the threat, and that's where maybe they didn't word it this way, but maybe Congress, for once, has this intuitive, like, we can't F with this stuff too much if China has a backdoor data mining ability with this stuff. That's crazy. So, yes, does it suck getting off the crack? Probably. But that doesn't mean that it's not a mature decision to collectively consider its threat. The question is, you have to prove that this really is a reasonable threat. So some things, are like when people ask valid questions that involve critical thinking that may object to, like, well, why should we get rid of TikTok? You better have some really good points as to why you should get rid of it, like that. It's a tricky business, but you'll notice that most of our stresses in the modern world are built purely on really tough intellectual or existential problems that have you cornered now as a human being, no matter where you are in the world. As if you live in an industrialized world. Like, you're forced to think about things that you would have never had to have been convicted to think about 20 years ago. But now it's like it's all over the freaking landscape. which I can understand why a lot of people don't want to have these conversations because it's just too much. But then that only reinforces that having some sort of a spirit of discernment, equipped with wisdom and knowledge and understanding of reality, is probably one of your best tools you could have to surf through the modern world. That's my piece for tonight. Would you like to add anything?
No, sir.
You sure?
Positive.
Okay, wow. Well, thank you very much. I guess we're good. I mean, we had we were on a roll here, you know. Hi, folks. Hit a like and don't forget to subscribe. And share the episodes if you like them.